Hey, Quinton and Mattie, it's Rob and Jess from RHAP. Of course, sad to see you out on the race. That you're such an interesting team because it seemed like that you two were so good at so many of the tasks that came up on The Amazing Race. You just had so much trouble getting there. Is that fair?
What's up, Rob and Jess? Honestly, that was the issue. That was the issue. It wasn't even the fact that getting lost. It was like, okay, is this the right route, or is this the longest route, or is this the fastest route? Like, it was that. And there was a couple things they didn't show this episode. They didn't show us getting pulled over. We were stuck in that
by the police?
By the French police, Rob.
Why? What did you do?
Quinton.
I guess I ran a red light.
Okay. All right. Well, that's.
I guess I still don't believe it. But
be careful. Be careful out there.
It did feel like there was a lot that we weren't shown about specifically what happened to you this episode. But then, like, in general, you're such a fun team, but we got like very minimal. Quinton and Mattie, is there anything else that you remember in particular from your time on the race that we didn't get to see that was particularly awesome?
I think Mattie said it best. You can go about how you said the
car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that, we're the first season of Amazing Race that start to finish was chartered, right? Because even last season they started off normal. So this current season, it's a totally different format that they took into consideration from the very beginning. So a lot of that transportation from getting from point A to point B, that stress and struggle was eliminated from a lot of, there was no airports, right? But there's a lot of self-driving. And I feel that the self-drive is where most of our race was. Most of it happened because once we got to the tasks, we were in and out of them very quickly. So I feel like that's why you don't see very much of us, because I think the editing this season, because there's a lack of transportation struggle and finding flights, that they focus more on the tasks. And unfortunately for us, our tasks are pretty quick, but our driving is a lot longer. And I think that's where our funniest moments happened, were our car conversations.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the relationship between the two of you, because this was something that we talked about during the season, is that, for an Amazing Race duo, that you are kind of like an uncommon pair that we have seen on the show, where that we don't really get a lot of, like a man and a woman who are friends and just like, not in a, romantic or related relationship. So could you talk a little bit about the dynamic between the two of you?
I think that's why our relationship works, because I don't have to worry about us getting divorced if I say the wrong thing, or if we fight on the course, like that's not happening. So I think that's why, this platonic, we're best friends, we were teammates. So we have like kind of encountered a lot of stressful situations together. And I think that's why we were able to put all the nonsense or aside, because that has nothing to do with the race. You know what I mean? We were just here to have a good time and try to win this mill. I was mad they didn't show that a lot either, because we were competitive. We aren't just a fun team. We were the fun team that was trying to win, and that we were meant to win. And it sucks when you look back on a lot of those legs that we would have had it if it wasn't for a couple navigational issues. Like Austria was meant for us to win. You know what I mean? We just couldn't find freaking Austria. Like it was a singing and dancing challenge. And the same thing with the Jordan. Like I felt that Petra was our leg to win. And then again, even when we're not driving, we have navigational issues. It's like we're just cursed with the navigational drama, but it all worked out. And we had a great time, and it's so sad, but I guess it was rough, not gonna lie. And
building on our friendship, I am in a relationship, and my fiance and I have watched the race together, and we would never do it together because it's just a different dynamic that you have to have. Whereas with Quinton and I, we're very just task-oriented people, and it doesn't get that deep. Like, we're not going to go back to our hotel room after a leg and be like, well, you really hurt my feelings when you said this. Like, that doesn't happen. It's like, let's sleep it off. Let's give each other space. Quinton take an hour-long shower, which he did every single day, and then we'll reconvene after that. So I feel like he's the only person I'd run the race with. I'd do it again.
Literally, we'll do it again.
So is there anything that you would do differently if you had the chance to do it over again?
I mean, obviously try to figure out the navigation stuff better, but it's like, it sucks when, like Mattie said earlier, we did really well in the challenge. Like there were so many teams that took 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 attempts at things. And we're like, in and out, let's go. So that's the part that was rough, is that I thought the challenge was gonna be the hardest part, but it wasn't. It was just getting from point A to point B.
Yeah. It's just too bad that you two were on a season that was all self-driving, where that, most of these other seasons are so much, taxis and trains and, all these other methods of getting from point A to point B with very little self-driving. That do you feel like that had you been on maybe an earlier season of the show that you would have won this thing going away?
Oh, totally. And that's what we've talked about when you ask that question, what would we do differently? I would just like to see us on a season where it is finding flights and getting taxis, because another strength of ours is that we've traveled a lot being Rams cheerleaders. Like we've been in many airports together, international airports, connecting flights. So we've done these things together that we know how to hustle in those situations. So I'd be really curious to know how we would stand up when it's all about the hustle and not.
So Quinton, I wanted to ask you about the rugby challenge from this past episode, because it looked like you took one try basically. And I want to know, what was the trick to getting that kick over the field goal?
That was the hardest part, because in America, we hold it and we kick it, but getting it to bounce at the exact right spot, like it's kind of a little bit of luck, to be honest. And in this race, I feel like a lot of teams are getting lucky. And you can either, like that ball you saw with Marcus, like you bounce it once and it's going this way, or you bounce it and it goes up too high, and it's literally the perfect timing. It's trying to get the perfect bounce. I wish I had I can lie and say I'm just a rugby genius. That's a lie. I just got lucky.
Yeah, those field goals look pretty good. Have you kicked field goals before?
I mean, I've played football and soccer, like not professionally or in not on like kicked around in the park and stuff, but no, that field goal was really high, and I was actually a little nervous when we were practicing on the side, and I was like, wait, that's all we have to do? And then you're like, oh shoot, hold on, I'm stressed. I don't want to do it again. And I knew that we were in last place. Like, we saw Aubrey and David run around, and we're like, we don't have time to do it again. Let's go, let's get out of here, and let's try to make up some time.
Yeah, were there any tasks that you surprised yourself with, like being able to pull out a skill that you never thought you'd have to refer to? Like, what was the most surprising thing that you succeeded at?
I'm going to speak for myself, but you should be proud too, Q, is the French poem. We slayed that French poem so good. And it's because of our knowledge of ballet, which a lot of it is French. And you saw me do a penché as we were memorizing it, and music. So we were singing, what's that song? Lady Marmalade. We were singing that. So we were like, and then we would watch French TV and we would put the lyrics together with what we're watching on TV. We're like, it clicked. But then even one of the interviewers was talking to us. She was like, it was very odd that you guys chose the poem when you were complaining about the pronunciation of all of the street names. We're like, no, because it's lyrics. Like once we get there, it's just lyrics and it's memorization. And even though we knew we were potentially going home that day, we had so much fun doing the poem. We were just laughing the whole time, and we got it done so quick.
And we put on a whole show. They didn't show it, but we literally put on a whole, like, to be or not to be. Like, it was, the drama was there.
Kids were leaning outside of their windows, which were right above us, leaning outside, just laughing at us, trying to just give them a performance. When we walked up to the lady that was testing us, Quinton was like, Mattie, we need to put on a freaking show right now. And we're like,
she looks.
So do you two have a sense of how far behind David and Aubrey you ultimately were?
It's frustrating because we literally lost, it seemed like, by a couple minutes.
Oh, wow.
So because as we were running through the canal, we saw them getting off the boat. And I think that's what hurt most to me, at least. Because I was like, oh, if we're going to lose, like, I don't want to see them. You know what I mean? I don't want to know. The fact that after getting pulled over, the 45 minutes stuck in the Capitol, the driving around the stadium like 10 times, you know what I mean? Going the wrong way. It's like the fact that we still made up all that time. Like, yeah, it was, they did good with the editing on the mat, because I was not at all.
How did you feel about the fact that there weren't any non-elimination legs? Like, did that change how you came into the race?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You can even see it.
Unfortunately, yes. I feel like we came in with the mentality of we're winning every leg, and we're going to win this race. And then when we heard Phil off in the distance saying, and there's no non-elimination legs, we looked at each other.
Like,
oh, no second chances. So then it became about not going home, which I think is a flaw in the mentality for people like us that are such strong competitors and love to compete. You don't want to just get by. And I think that's kind of not our downfall, but I think we could have come out a little bit stronger if we didn't waver from that. We're still winning every leg, you know.
It would have saved us.
Yeah.
We would have been in Spain.
Mm-hmm. Could you two talk a little bit about, of course, you had like the really memorable moment where you were trying to get to Austria and ended up still in Germany on that leg of the race, and what that was like to sort of realize, okay, we're in the wrong country.
No, you can go.
So we're new to the race. This is only leg 2. And we were so spoiled with leg 1 because that was no problem. We had great directions, no navigational mistakes. We were on cloud 9. Nothing could stop us. And what happened was we went up to a lady to ask for directions. We put in the address, but not the country. So there's the same exact street in Germany, in Munich, and in Austria. So it took us to that street in Munich. But at this point in the race, everything is still so fresh and there's so many teams still there. But nobody's around us. So you don't have that pressure of like, oh, we're really in the back. And it wasn't until we got to the Yodel challenge, pulled out the clue, and it was the last one there, that we're like, oh no, oh no, we got to thrive.
That was rough. I'm still trying to fight that girl.
Yeah. Did you think it was shady last week when Lumumba said that he was hoping that maybe somebody drove to Germany?
No, we were shady too. They just didn't show it. So I was actually nervous. I remember telling Mattie, like, oh my gosh, we might be the villains. Like as the amount of mess we were talking. But I mean, it was all in good fun and all in just competitive spirit. But no, not shady at all. But it's real. The country's just so close. You never know.
Well, now I'm sorry I missed all that shade.
You have a chance now.
Oh no.
I was like, shoot, who am I going in on? No.
It was all just competitive shade. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I hope they get lost.
Yeah.
Then that happened to us.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Were there any teams that you had a particularly close relationship with over the course of the season?
Yeah, we loved, you saw it. We loved Team Red. We loved Louis Michelle. Team Red. We were just starting to really bond with Will and Abby right before the fiasco that happened. So that was rough. But Louis and Michelle, we felt their energy when we couldn't even talk to each other. Like when we were still in that little sequestered moment, like we were like, oh, I was like, Mattie, I like them a lot. And we haven't said anything and we haven't like even looked at each other, but I was like, I feel it. And those are your friends. And then literally first day we were able to speak, bam, it was over. I spent my 30th with them a couple weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
They're good people, good, fun people.
Okay. I know you have to run and do more interviews. Is there anything else you want to make sure that we know?
That we don't suck. We are a great team.
We believe it.
We got pulled over.
Got pulled over. That's what it was. Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Okay. All right. Well, so nice to get to talk to you. All the best outside of the race. Okay.
Thank you, friends.
Guys.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.